Frank, just like switching gears a little bit, I want to, like, what is it, going back to your, just, I think it's like, I really want to, because like, I know we've had this discussion in private meeting many times, but I like to have it, you know, for our listeners. How do you feel like, what is your mindset walking into fights? Like, what is emotionally, how do you deal with it? Because this is something that competitors and fighters deal with, and I feel that you've always dealt with it exceptionally well. But I know that you're human too. You know, you've always, I mean, because we're friends, you've always shown your human side to me as well. You know, have no, like, hey, I'm a super tough guy. I'm always, I'm never nervous or scared or anything like that. Would you mind talking about your weaknesses and strengths when it comes to preparing?
You know, it's funny because I tell people this all the time, especially dealing with fear. I am very much of a pussy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like pain. I'm not the kind of guy that sits there, oh, we're gonna do this. I'm like, that bugs me. I don't want to do that. Like, that's why actually I learned how to fight, because I'm like, oh, I want to control myself, my own mind, and learn how to leverage my ability to the best of, everybody goes, torturing. I'm like, everybody has a breaking limit. Some people more than others. And so martial arts to me is a way of me controlling my mind. And really it's simple as this. I just try not to project too far into the future. When I'm backstage in a locker room, I try not to, and I say I try not to because I still do. I'm like, oh, what if I lose? What if I win? But those are thoughts when they enter my mind that stress me the fuck out. They do. My heart rate jacks up. I'm sitting there going, oh shit,
Cortisol goes through the roof.
Yeah, so then I feel like I'm heavy. My legs filled with lead. I'm like, oh my God. So what I do is I just try to avoid that. I'm like, all right, when we come out and touch hands, what do I know most likely my opponent's going to do? I'm like, all right, well, he's going to start moving around. He likes to move to his right to set up his right hand. Okay. And then what are the three most common things he does from there? Well, if I give him an aggressive stimulation, he's going to fire off this. If I give him a neutral stimulation, he's going to do this. If I start moving away from him, this is what he's going to do. And I just start making it a math equation. X, Y, Z. It's like, all right, if you do this, I'm going to do this. And I get lost in that because to me it's positive way to control my mind, because it can't, when people say empty your mind, I'm like, it's impossible. I can only fill my mind with something else.
Yeah.
So I fill it with positive thoughts that are helping me. So now I'm using visualization on, okay, the guy shoots on me. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to turn the corner, hit a wizard, put pressure on the head. If he pops up from that, I'm going to bring my inside leg over, and maybe I'll grab the neck. If I feel like he's going to cross over my guard, then I'm going to post and neck push. You know what I mean? Like I have a series of things I'm going to run through, and that's what I'm going to fill my mind with. Not fill my mind with, what if I lose? What if I win? Because I really can't control that. And that's what I notice makes me the most stressful. So when I zoom off into my 1,000-yard stare, that's where I'm at. That's me just breaking down like, okay, I'm fighting Roy. When he sets his feet, I know the overhand right's coming, or possibly 20% of the time it's going to be an uppercut. Either way, it's going to be on these lines. I know which line I have to go to. And then immediately when I'm in that line, what power do I have? Well, my left hand will be charged. I can have a straight left or an uppercut, depending on where his head is. Okay, so now as I'm slipping the right hand, I'm looking to see how far down his head goes. Is it uppercut time or is it a straight left time? And that's how I feel my brain.
And here's my next, because I knew you were going to go in this direction. This is where I wanted to have this discussion with you. To what ability? Because some people seem to really struggle. We spoke to, me and Dave spoke about this. We spoke about this in private before. Mike Musumez, which he said the exact same thing, is this ability to, because you can't get rid of it.
No.
What you can do is, focus on the mission.
Yep.
How do you feel do you think some people have a harder time than others, or is this just something we're all equal on and some people just need more practice, or something really, maybe they have a predisposition to allow their emotions and fear, doubt, and anxiety to take over control over their thoughts? And they just have this inability to switch that off and, let's focus on the mission.
Well, I think that if everybody's attached to it, it makes everybody nervous. And I really feel like the only solution is to, as you said, what was the word expression?
Predisposition?
No, the mission.
You focus on the mission.
Focus on the mission. I like that. I'm going to use that phrasing from now on. Because a lot of people, and this is what I used to do too, I used to be so overwhelmed by the emotions of walking out in front of thousands of people, winning and losing, there's the end of the world, what could happen, that I actually did the worst thing possible, which is I became unattached. So that's why people say that you watch me walk out to a cage, I almost looked like I was turned off. I was turned off. I was completely like, I don't care if I win or lose, it doesn't matter. Almost like a Nietzsche type, look, we're all fucking walking corpses anyways, you know what I mean? What does it really matter? You know what I mean? And so I became unattached, which then that doesn't drive you, doesn't focus you, doesn't give you a reason for succeeding and trying to storm. You're basically becoming a reactionary individual. Like, okay, as the situation comes, I'll deal with it. And that does sometimes work, you know, as being a reactionary, but I think it's always a huge improvement, or much more preferable to be proactive and fill my mind with positive things. And then the other reason why I found that it was so useful is that I became really proficient at doing maneuvers. I've been in the back locker room and guys have shown me, do this. And I've looked at it and pulled it off in the fight. And people are like, how the hell do you do that? I'm like, well, I thought about it probably about 10,000 times in that 2-hour period that I had.
And I remember when you fought Nogueira for the first time, and you dropped him with that lead, that up jab. What do you call that? Funny jab?
Yeah,
the up jab.
Yeah, long uppercut.
And you learned it, what, 2 weeks before the fight? And someone showed it to you. I remember someone showing you that combo, and you really liked it. And I know you didn't drill it because I was part of the camp. You barely drilled it at all. Yeah. But I know that in your head, you went over that move a million times when the situation presented itself. Yeah. And that's why you were able to do it.
And that's because you can go into... your wife could tell you the psychology. Yeah. My brain, when you visualize something and you run it through, and then you have a memory of actually doing something, your brain really has a hard time of telling the difference between, did you create that image or did you actually do that? Yeah. And so I'm like, I take it.
The neural pathway was created.
So I take advantage of setting up that neural pathway, and the more times I can fire that signal off, because when I learned really early on, okay, the synapses between two axons, right, that neural pathway, what makes it stronger? Well, the more times it fires. Well, my physical attributes are finite. I can only throw a straight left or that right uppercut. How many times can I drill it before my shoulder's on fire, my hips are burning? Not that you don't physically drill it, but I could drill it in my brain. I could sit there and drive in a car, and I pull over, and my wife always says it to me. She only recently pointed that out to me. I don't talk in the car. She goes, you know how off-standing it seems to be in a car with you? I'm like,
drilling.
I'm drilling in my head constantly. All kinds of shit. Like, okay, I get rammed by a car, 2 guys get out with guns. What do I do? And then I have scenarios, and I'm just constantly running through my head. Okay, the kids are with me, the kids aren't with me. I have access to this gun, I don't have access to this gun. You know what I mean? Like, I'm constantly drilling in my brain.
I'm not the only one. I don't drive with music in the car.
I don't either.
Yeah, it's always silent. And everybody's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, no, man, I'm thinking.
This
is my thinking.
I get lost in my thoughts. Yeah. So I notice my kids are the same people now. They sit in the car like this and just. A couple times I've been like, "Say, how was school?" They're like, "Good." I'm like, "All right, good." I'm like, "Shit, we're having." I mean, not that they don't come to me and have great conversations, but I can see too they're just lost. Yeah, they're in their own head too because they're mimicking me. It just constantly there's fuck, man. I tell my wife that. She goes, are you okay? Everything wrong? I'm like, yeah, why? I'm like, man, there's a fucking party going on in my head, dude. Like, there's a lot of noise.
And I daydream. People that know me make fun of me all the time because I cannot meditate like that, what we're describing, and not make facial expressions. And talk, I move my mouth.
Oh God, I do it too!
And I'm found full on conversation.
My wife will ask me, goes, what were you just thinking about right now? I'm like, why? It's just your nose like snarled up, you know?
Yeah. I literally sometimes I'll make facial expressions of what's going on.
I do the same thing.
Yeah, it's an expression what's going inside my head, and I get angry. I used to not care when people interrupted me. Now I'm like, shut the fuck up. I'm in my zone here, man. Like, don't. It's like, you're really focused on something, and they want to pull you out of your zone. I'm like, no, man. Leave me in my zone. I'm happy here.
So you must do this too, because I do this all the time. I'm the worst person to drive with. Like, you have to be on me while you're driving. Or I drive around in Vegas, even like to come to your house right now. I know where you live. I have to set my directions. Yeah. Because otherwise, I'll pass the exit and just keep on going. I've driven places where I'm like, where the fuck am I? You know what I mean? Like, oh my God! Like, I'll come back to reality.
You should take that as a compliment. Like, great minds, it's a feature of great minds. It really is. People get so distracted. Like, Adam Smith he was known for walking for hours on end, and then like not knowing where he was when he stopped walking. Yeah. Because he was thinking economics. He was out of it, just walking, and then he'd come back, get home, and write down his thoughts. Yeah. And I think some of the best ideas and the best moments I've had with myself were completely by myself, living inside my own head. Yeah. I'm so happy in there. So people pull me out of that, I'm almost like angry. I'm like, why did you pull me out of Disneyland, man? Because in my head, it's like the happiest place in the world.
Yeah, it just goes. We talked about the other day visualization, the power of it. And obviously, you're doing a lot of it, and it's just so big. Like, I don't know anybody who's achieved great things without seeing it here first. Yeah. And it's exactly 100%. Yeah. I think what you said was the really drives the point home. Whereas physically, you can only do something so many times. Yeah. mentally, like you said, it's infinite. It's just it depends on your patience. Like how much time are you willing to dedicate to practicing that in your head? A lot of people are lazy, or they just don't see the value in it, and they don't put the time, and it shows. Because then they can't perform the same way that they do in a more stressful situation because they haven't lived it enough.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. The only time that I feel that like it's very important for me to physically drill something is if I can't feel it in my head. You know what I mean? Like there's certain. I can sit there and talk about grabbing a guillotine while I'm in their half guard. I can feel being there. I can feel them shifting my weight over. I can feel them fighting my leg down. But like, there's certain for me to butterfly sweep someone into that 411.
Yeah.
You showed it the other day. I can't feel it in my brain. Like I can't really. I'm like sitting there going, you know what? I can't feel it. Now I've repped it a couple times, but still haven't repped it enough that I can feel it in my head. So my development on that move has been fucking at 1%.
So fun.
Whereas my reverse guillotine, my development to switch off to a Darce, my timing's increased. I've only had to do it a couple times, but in my brain, I'm constantly doing this. When I feel a guy push my hips away, I know his arm is, I can feel your elbow getting closer to your head as you're trying to defend the guillotine, and now my arm's shooting across for the Darce. I can feel my hand on my bicep, even without me being there.
Yeah.
Whereas certain moves I can't feel.
It's so funny you say that because it's exactly how I've always felt. Like, there are moves that came to me. If I have a criteria, if I can close my eyes and I can see myself in the whole sequence, I'm going to be good at that move.
Yeah.
There's certain things I cannot see myself doing. Like, I cannot see myself pulling off a hip throw. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 22 years. I've never thrown anyone off my hip, ever. If I close my eyes and I try to see myself doing a hip throw, I cannot make that connection. And as a result, I suck at them. But like a guillotine and a Darce,
my brain knows my own limitations.
I never drilled them a day of my life. Not once did I drill a guillotine. And it's just like, it just came to me naturally.
Like even things that I physically could teach somebody and I could run it through, but my brain, as I'm doing it, there's like an alarm that goes, boop, doesn't work. For me, for example, because of the thickness of my legs and my abs, I have a hard time. If I have an overhook and wrist control, me pushing your wrist up and pulling a triangle, it ain't happening. I can't get my if I can get you, you suck at jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? Because it isn't a smooth transition. It's going to take me like 30 seconds of fighting to get my foot over your shoulder to get between that crack. So even when I sit here and visualize it, I go, boom, I'm like, I can't do that move. My body knows that you're not going to pull that off. It ain't happening, dude. You know what I mean?
That's crazy how that is because I have these mental blocks, man. Like, I don't know if there's a
I think it's because our brain knows.
And I've tried to fix them. You know, for the longest time in striking, I couldn't see a right hand landing. I cannot visualize my right hand landing on the guy's head. I could just, and in practice, I never did. I could land a hook, I could land, but the right hand for some reason was never a punch. Even on the pads, I could crack the pads on with it, but like when it comes to sparring, like I have this block, like it doesn't.
And then your brain won't do it because it doesn't have like a pathway to follow.
Yeah.
It's like the schematics of movement aren't even in there.
Yeah.
It's like go. It's like
there's something missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of like plays to what your game is, right? Because if you don't believe what you can do in here, like you said, it doesn't translate outside. So like, I think that mental work is so important because you have to be able to do it physically enough where it can be accepted and something that you imagine. And I love the way you're describing how you visualize it because you're feeling it. You can see it. You can actually physically feel it in yourself.
Yeah.
And you go and like I always tell people, like visualizations have to be very vivid.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And like you said, I call them false memories because, like you said, like sometimes you don't even know if it actually happened, right? It's like, did it actually happen or did I imagine it? It doesn't matter. When if you're able to do that, now it's like you actually had the experience without actually doing it physically.
Believable.
No.
And it gives you like you only fight like what a guy who's a veteran fighter has like 30 something fights. That's a lot of fights, and it takes years to do that. But you could have 30 fights in a day, you know, in your head, and get that same experience, but. You have to be able to get the feel. You have to get the smell,
to get
height.
Because I think they have different levels of how deep into your mind you can go. Because sometimes I can they're very superficially, and I'm normally someone interrupts me or something happens, right? But if I can be in my zone, the longest I can be in there, like I feel the deeper I can go into thoughts, the more realistic it becomes. Like I've been on like certain situations where like I'm on the verge of tears because I'm celebrating the title. Like I'm so emotionally involved. I'm actually celebrating in my head something that's entirely. But it's so vivid in my mind.
No, I get emotional reactions.
Yeah, like I'm like, man, this is like I just won a world title.
And that's how you know you're doing a good job of it, right? When your heart rate starts to move faster as you start seeing the fight going through. Your subconscious is accepting it. It's like believable. Like this is happening. You know what I mean? If you can see a visualization and it doesn't excite you, it's not working.
No,
you're not connecting. Something's not believable. Where your mind's like, no,
it's not giving you an emotional response.
Yeah, it's got to be emotional. You're right.